Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time. It is Friday morning, and that means we bring on the man, myth, the legend, and somebody who is helping many one rental at a time followers, fans, and the like, Mr. Stephen Dow. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing good. And yourself?
I'm doing well, man. So you are a non-QM lender. You have brought me 30-year money on office buildings and the like, apartments. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Yes.
But what I thought we should talk about is adjustable rate mortgages. It's something that if you follow my channel, you know I kind of don't like, right? But that's a bias I have, and I need to realize that there are some times where adjustable rate mortgages make sense.
Sure.
And specifically today, because I've started to see some adjustable rate mortgages, you know, like the 30-year fixed is 5%, maybe an adjustable at 3.5%, right? There's a huge gap. Usually my experience, they're not traditionally that large. And again, I'm going to be very clear. Michael Zuber will not be getting an adjustable rate mortgage ever, right? I'm a buy and hold investor. Even if I was going to be flipping properties, I would look for the fixed rate debt because you just don't know. But Stephen, you and I both know the adjustable rate mortgage is, it's going to catch some people. And I want to at least acknowledge there might be a couple of, I don't know, okay reasons where you might want to sign up for that. So do you want to talk on this?
I definitely do. But before I do, although I work very happily for Velocity Mortgage Capital, all the ideas and topics discussed on this channel are that of my own. So in response to your question, there's obviously always a specific reason for that individual to have to take or want to take an adjustable loan, right? In some cases, just rate chasing, that's probably the worst reason, especially in an increasing or inflationary environment, because you're basically rolling the dice and betting that in 3, 5, or 7 years, rates could possibly be better. I don't know right now, just because where everything's, where we're at, inflation, war, invasion, stuff like that. So we'll see. But typically speaking, I think historically, that's probably not going to be your best bet. Or if, in this case, for the reasons if you do happen to have a specific plan in place, for a fact, you only need the money for 3, 5, or whatever years. Yeah, I can see that, right? But
yeah,
that's 3 or 5 years is a long time, believe it or not.
Well, So again, this is always my experience, right? So one of my first seller finance deals I did, I think it was on a quad. It might have been a tri. I think it was a quad. They took back a second. I think it was 20% of the purchase price as a second. So the first came in for 70% LTV. They were 20. Thus I only brought in 10. This is pre-crash, folks. This loan probably doesn't get done today. But the problem is the seller, I want to say it was 2 years. It might have been 3. So 24 or 36 months. And we always joke, right? Is the older you get, years just go by faster. I can tell you those 2 or 3 years raced by. And oh, by the way, we happen to be doing that into a falling market, right? Because we bought pre-crash 3 years later. The market had rolled over. It wasn't like all the way down. So we were like, we had some serious conversations. So we actually had to go back to the seller for that one because we probably could have sold it and broke it even, maybe brought a couple of bucks to the table. But we went back to the seller, explained the situation. They were very understanding, and we got a 5-year extension for an extra point. They grinded us for an extra %. So if it was 6, then it went to 7. But yeah, I mean that's a personal experience where an adjustable rate, or in that case, it was really a balloon that turned into an adjustable rate because it went up. That was painful, right? So I can't say never. Yeah, I can say never. I will never take paper, even a seller deal less than 5 years. 2 or 3 years is just, it's a second in real estate. And if that happens to come up at a bad time, and it doesn't even have to be a down market. It could just be a tough lending environment. You're stuck. So that's a scar, a memory that I have that I will not let us get into. Because I remember going back to Olivia going, what the heck are we going to do with this place? And it was a great unit. I'm glad we have it. But that 30 days where we were like, is the seller want it back? I mean, there was some real conversations about what are we going to do? So yeah, I'm not a huge fan because of my personal experience.
Well, I would agree to some extent, and especially just I think from my personal perspective as well, is just in the world we live in now, with just, geopolitical events, health, global, pandemics that can cause the financial markets to kind of, freeze up, and, eviction moratoriums and everything else. And so do you really want to be kind of in that turmoil in something short term? I don't know. That's just kind of, that's a risky bet. At least in this environment.
Yeah. I mean, because again, I've been doing this 21 years. I mean, this is a very dicey environment. Most of my 21 years were nowhere close to this dicey. But if I were to step back and I was talking to probably an owner occupant, it's like, Michael, I'm going to come to the Bay, an expensive market. I'm going to come to Miami, who's now the most, like, if you were going to a really, really pricey market and your full plan, like, I'm going to be in and out in 3 years or 5 years. I mean, that's the one situation where I might go, okay, but let me just say this caveat. Life is tricky. As soon as you say you're going to leave Miami in 5 years, you're going to meet your wife or your husband or whatever, and they're going to like, I can't leave my family, and you end up staying. But I mean, I get it, right? There are times where you can have a legitimate plan, like, I'm going to live here for this long.
Well, like they say, life just has a funny way of happening to you while you're planning it. So plan all you want, it'll just keep happening the way it wants to happen, and you just kind of have to adjust sometimes. But yeah, again, as I get older too, and as I get more experience in this business, I think long term is really the way to go, especially for investor money, because it's just such a roller coaster ride to have to refinance again, and then now you got tenants in there too. They're not cash flowing because rents are down. It just makes it much more stressful than I think it needs to be. That's just my opinion.
No, I wanted to de-risk my apartments, right? I brought apartments, buildings to you. You said you had 30-year money.
Yep.
We tried it. I got 30-year money. It was awesome. Yep. So if you have apartments and you want 30-year money, reach out to Stephen Dow. It's amazing. The rates are going to be higher than you might get from a commercial, but again, it'll be 30-year AM, not 25, and the payments surprisingly close. I was so thankful because of that, and it just, there's enough. I know what risks.
You got. It doesn't exist anymore. So it's timing. That's all.
Yeah, there's just enough risks out there. I will say this, right? If the 30-year loan got back to 8%, maybe 7.5%, I might look, because again, if for whatever reason, like, because this is the one, we're just having a conversation. So let's pretend like Jay Powell becomes Paul Volcker. He has an outer boundary experience, and he raises the funds rate to 5%, which means the 2 years at 7 and the 30 years at 9. I would probably take adjustable rate mortgages at that point, because I would assume, just like Volcker, there'll be a rate decline after inflation is broken, right? So again, the lending cycle, cost of capital, cost of money always makes sense. I don't expect Powell to do that, but again, if Powell has an out of body Freaky Friday kind of thing with Paul Volcker,
we can all only hope for, right?
Yeah, I would take, I guess I will stand corrected. That is the one time I would take adjustable rate mortgages. If the Fed said thou shalt raise rates above inflation, we are going to break the back, and I was doing a deal in that window, which I hope I would, because prices would be down, sellers would be anxious, I would do an ARM, because I would probably do a 5 or a 7 if they had it, because I wouldn't do a 3 though. I wouldn't do a 3, but I would do an ARM in that situation. And I love how my brain works. It just came to me. That's the one time I would do an ARM.
Right. Well, I would agree with you as well. But for now, in this environment, and I don't see Powell doing that. So we'll see. It'll be interesting times.
Yeah, no Freaky Friday. I don't know how they start Freaky Fridays, but he's got to go do, whatever witch doctor things.
That is funny that you brought it up, and it is Friday, so you never know.
There we go. I always think it's Saturday. Every day is Saturday, but you're right.
Every day is the same, man. You and I work every day. I'm always like, what day is today? Okay, just recording day is what I call it now. So
there you go. Well, how can people reach out to you if they want some of this 30-year money on apartments, or they want to see if their deal makes sense?
Yes, just email me, sdao@velocitymortgage.com. Remember to please put in the subject line, because I'm now actually still going through quarantine. Emails that got stuck there from like December, January, they forget, and they put in the subject line what they're looking for, but not the acronym.
Yeah.
So anyway, apologies for that.
The subject line, just ORAAT, nothing else.
Correct. And then sometimes they'll get the actual words mixed up, and then they'll put an acronym differently. So I had to correct this one bar because that's where he got stuck. He put one rental at the time or something like that. So it was like ORATTT. Yeah, something like that. So anyway, that, and then in the body of the email, just a brief description of what you're looking for, property type, address if possible, mid-FICO score, desired loan amount, and then best phone number to reach you back at. And then typically that's usually the best and fastest way for us to communicate. Other than that, looking forward to talking to you.
Yep. sdow@velocitymortgage.com. He gave me
Yes,
30-year money on apartments.
Yes.
All right.
You're welcome.